A war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured.
I gave him the kind of funeral that he wanted, which as president I had to approve. I wasn't a fan of John McCain.
I figured there would be a chance that I would catch it. Sometimes I'd be in groups of, for instance, Gold Star families. They come within an inch of my face sometimes. They want to hug me and they want to kiss me.
What sacrifice have you made for your country?
I think I've made a lot of sacrifices. I work very, very hard. I've created thousands and thousands of jobs, tens of thousands of jobs.
A man came up to me and he handed me his Purple Heart.
And I said, man, that's like big stuff. I always wanted to get the Purple Heart.
This was much easier.
As frequent viewers of this program know, that's just a snippet of the very long history of the ex-president's disparaging comments about military heroes and veterans, much of which wasn't even on camera, like the reporting that Donald Trump called fallen troops, quote, suckers and losers, or his instruction to Mark Milley, then the top general of the United States, to not bring wounded veterans to public events. Trump's own public suggestion just last year that Milley should be executed, or the fact that it took him 2 days and lots of public pressure to lower the White House flags after John McCain's death. McCain was a frequent target of Trump's anti-military hero rhetoric, and he is once again. Just this weekend, Trump mocked McCain's famous thumbs down moment, his undoubtedly purposeful killing of the GOP's hopes, here you can see him, to repeal Obamacare. But he tried to connect it to an injury that John McCain suffered as a prisoner during the Vietnam War that left him unable to lift his arms above his shoulders. Watch.
Obamacare is a catastrophe. Nobody talks about it. You know, without John McCain, we would have had it done. But John McCain, for some reason, couldn't get his arm up that day. Remember? He goes that like that. That was the end of that.
Trump's distasteful comments again drew the ire of Meghan McCain, who tweeted this about her father, quote, "My dad was an American hero, an icon, a patriot that will be remembered through history. I cannot buy a bagel without someone approaching me about how much they loved and miss him. Trump is a blank election-denying huckster whose own wife won't campaign with him," end quote. Joining our conversation is the retired United States Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel and co-founder of Operation Saving Democracy, Amy McGrath. Mara Gay is also back with us. Thanks to both of you for being with us. Colonel McGrath, I just want to get your reaction, first of all. I was saying to Mara in the commercial break, I don't know who asks Donald Trump to do this, what he thinks he gets from these random musings about military people and John McCain, but he does it a lot.
He does. I think he has a personal vendetta against John McCain. I mean, even in death. Why? Well, John McCain is 1,000 times the man that Donald Trump is in terms of honor, character, and integrity. You know, John McCain was a prisoner of war for 5.5 years when he was offered early release from the North Vietnamese. He declined because it would go against the code of conduct, because he wanted his fellow prisoners who had been there longer to be released first. And he said famously in one of the last speeches he gave at the U.S. Naval Academy, when asked by a midshipman why he would do that, he said, you know what? I could be released early, but what kind of life would I have lived without honor? That was John McCain. And Donald Trump doesn't understand that. He will never understand it. And that is why he has such an issue with him. But the thing about it is that what Donald Trump said isn't really important. It's the fact that the Republican Party, Republicans in Congress cannot stand up to him, cannot, why is Meghan McCain the only one repudiating what Donald Trump has said? Why is she the only one? Why can't members of Congress come out and say something? Why? Because they will fall lockstep in with this man. And no longer is the party, the Republican Party, the party of national security or the party of veterans. And this is just another example of it.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. This is low-hanging fruit for Republicans to say, don't insult John McCain and don't insult the military.
The thing that really is revealing about this for me is that, you know, we've been lectured for years now, Americans have, about how Republicans are the party of patriots. And Donald Trump's slogan, "Make America Great Again," as though those of us who have reasoned criticisms of America hate America.
Right.
And yet here what we see is that Trumpism has nothing to do with loving America. It's about worshiping Donald Trump. This man doesn't care about America or Americans. He saw the presidency as a way to profit, as a way to play footsie with dictators. Meanwhile, we have actual American heroes who are maligned. And of course, there was a personal vendetta that he had. But this wasn't the first time he had mocked someone who had served the country. You know, my uncles actually were Vietnam vets. One of them died of an Agent Orange-related cancer a little over 10 years ago now. And I just have to say that this is just such an example of toxic masculinity from the former president. I mean, talk about an insecurity. This is not what real men need to do. No. And I think it's pathetic. But I also just think it's disturbing because, again, I don't see any love of America from this man. And I think we have to ask ourselves why we've allowed a party that is worshiping one person in the style of fascists to get away with owning patriotism. I think it's completely offensive. Right. It's if we have patriotism, we've got to understand where the military has fallen into that. Colonel McGrath, as somebody who has served and like John McCain, wanted to serve your country in different ways as well in the United States Senate, what is it? I think Mara's got a really good point here, that it is toxic masculinity. I mean, these things they jumble together. But when Donald Trump shows you that Purple Heart and says, oh, this is a lot easier than the way you would normally earn a Purple Heart, why do people not react to that in the way that you would think we all do? That's just gross and you're gross.
I think people would react if they get to see that. I do believe that there's lots of media outlets that aren't going to show things like that. And you know, we have to remind voters, because they're not watching this stuff every day. We have to remind them that Donald Trump did say that veterans were losers and suckers, that he did try or say that he was going to possibly execute the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. We have to remind them that he wouldn't go to the graves of those Marines and soldiers that died for us in the greatest generation. He wouldn't go to their graves in Europe because he didn't want to get wet. And we have to have people to remind voters who are not political people. And what I mean by that, you know, the former Secretary of Defense, Mark Esper, has been very vocal in saying that Donald Trump is a national security threat. He's a Trump appointee. There are hundreds of retired ambassadors, generals, and admirals who don't want to wade into politics, who are nonpartisan people who are willing to speak out. And we need to hear more from them. The American people need to hear more from them. And that's because that's who they're going to believe in this. And that's why it's so important.
Yeah, there are two